Welcome everyone. Welcome to AutoAudit Cloud webinar. We're very happy to have you all. Thank you for joining us today and for your interest in our solution. My name is Ola O'Shea. I am a senior product analyst. I work on the product development side of things. AutoAudit Cloud is one of the 3 templates that I own and develop. And my colleague Ben, who's joining me today, is a solutions engineer. Ben is responsible for designing new solutions for our customers, including customized audit management builds and ventures into new domains. The agenda for today will be obviously the introduction. I have the easy job of doing this. Before I hand over to Ben, he will do a demo of the solution. He will focus on the new interface that makes our platform look a lot more modern, as well as the workflows, which includes issue management and our enhanced reporting. And before we close off, we will also mention any future plans for the audit cloud solution. The audit cloud solution is built off the powerful connected risk GRC platform that we have. This solution can help you elevate your audit management practices with a range of features such as flexible assessment, agile planning, streamlined execution, and modern reporting, and all of that without a single line of code. Here is a summary of what the AutoAudit is capable of. So we've got flexible audit universe definition, resource management, and others. But in today's demonstration, Ben will focus on some of these. I will now hand over to Ben to expand on this and to show you the platform.
Yes, thank you for that, Ola. It's been amazing to watch all of our audit solutions grow thanks to your team's efforts. And yeah, I mean, it's honestly been a lot to keep up with. And of course, thank you for everyone else in attendance. I'm very excited today to be able to show the latest in AutoAudit Cloud. And so for today, I'll be doing a brief walkthrough of the audit process, hopefully offering you all some insights into how the tool would look and feel if used by your team. And along the way, as we go through sort of a simple audit, we'll take a look at some of the latest enhancements that are offering our customers the most benefit. So with that, let's jump on in to AAC. As we log in, I am initially presented with my primary dashboard view. The primary view is largely determined by your security privileges and your preferences. So in this case, I'm logged in as a management level user who has a wide breadth of capabilities in the system. And on this particular page, I've set up for myself some charts that I like to monitor on a daily basis. And then I also brought my timesheet management piece into the bottom right corner there. So that's just how I like to set up my homepage. And with that caveat about security and dashboards aside, let's take a look at the first enhancement that we'd like to show off, which is our new user interface. So we've updated our UI to not only look and offer a significantly more beautiful look, but we've also feel like we've added efficiencies when it comes to the system's navigation capabilities. So we're finding that our customers are more easily taking action on the items that they need to because the user experience is cleaner. So to show that, we have first our top menu. At the very top here, we have our new ever-present menu system, and it really surfaces 3 main features. The first being our module selector. And this is for our customers that have 2 or more solutions integrated together. This module selector allows them to easily bounce back and forth between the different department perspectives. Also along the top here, we have our global search bar. This is so we can search for data in the application. And it essentially works like a Google search engine without all of the advertisements. And then also on the top right-hand corner, we have my profile management, which really just allows for easier access to reports on your user's activity. Continuing along with the updated user interface, we also have the left-hand side menu, which has greatly improved the navigation experience for our users. This persistent left-hand menu is making it so much easier for our users to be able to browse around AutoAudit Cloud. We're currently in the audit universe side of things, where we can manage the audit entities and the risk assessments against those. But we also have all of the other areas that we could jump into as part of AutoAudit Cloud. And we can use this navigation menu to jump into those areas. For now, though, let's go into audit execution and see what's going on there. This is where the bulk of audit work is completed. So I'll navigate into our audit execution dashboard page, which is where we can find my audits and also my findings on the left-hand side here, as well as my checklists, work papers, and programs on the right-hand. So these are all of my items that are coming due soon, and that really makes this particular dashboard view a working page. This is where we're picking up on essentially our to-do list. And in order to do that, let's pick up one of our audits here at the top left. I'm going to jump into our workflow for our compliance audit. And starting with the first phase of the workflow, in this case, the scoping step. And this is the point in the workflow where we are composing out the audit itself. So at the very top here, we're filling out the audit basic details. These are the key categorizations, your audit description, as well as your team and schedule. So here's where you can start to actually plan out the audit resources and how it's going to be executed on a calendar basis. When it comes to the team, we have currently our team depicted here, which is a diverse crew of me. But we can use this edit team button to go ahead and jump into the edit team page, where we can select team members for this particular audit based on their current allocations for hours and some of their key qualifications. We can check any of these attributes for each of our team members and be able to bring them in as a particular role in this audit. For now, though, we'll just keep it at the same team for myself so that we can progress the audit through the workflow and I won't have to log in as different users. We also have our schedule depicted on the right-hand side here as noted. Here we have each of the workflow steps being laid out against particular dates. And so this is our planned schedule. We're hoping that the audit can be completed against this timeline, which means scoping needs to be done in about 7 days. And so that is one way to schedule, but we also have our audit scheduler beneath that, which is where we can pull up a report that relates to this particular audit. And it depicts the audit schedule in more of a Gantt chart formation. And so here we can be looking at the audit workflow dates, the scoping stage, the field work, and see how these are laid out in the Gantt chart formation. We can also make edits to these. So if I know reporting is actually going to probably take us till the end of the year, and we're going to have Ben working on that, and drag that on over to make those immediate edits to the audit schedule in sort of that visual format. This calendar, our Gantt chart functionality, is something that we can take pretty far too. We also have the ability to look at our audit program as a whole in this view. So you can see you'd essentially have rows for each audit, and then you can compare and contrast how their schedules line up against each other. So with that, I'll save some of the data that we just changed, then close out of our audit scheduler and jump back into our audit itself. So we just ran through the audit basics, now we can get into some of the in-depth details, which is our second section in the audit workflow. Here's where we can really mostly just outline the scope of this audit, define who this audit is applicable for, and what the general scope of conduction will be. Then we can provide any additional information. And it's also worth noting that this is where we can add review notes for our colleagues to check out and review. So for instance, let's say we are scoping, stage is 90% completed, and the remaining 10%, I'm going to notify my colleague that it's him that needs to complete the remaining 10%. So we'll leave that note for him, marked for attention. And then continuing along with the audit scoping, we reach really the bulk of the audit itself, which are the audit file elements. The files. Here is where we can create new or link to existing checklists, work papers, and programs. In this case, as we can hopefully see, I already have a handful of each of those elements linked in. I have a couple checklists, one work paper, and some findings against those as well. And so we can see that all kind of scoped out here, and then the ability to be able to add new checklists. So I can do the drop down here to select from previously created checklists, as well as create new items as well from this page. And the neat thing to point out here is that I essentially have a warehouse of checklists and work papers that I can pull from and call to create a localized data item against this particular audit. So I can open up our checklist library, for instance, bring in the physical security checklist into this audit. With that submit, that will then create that relationship between the checklist and the audit. And we can see now our physical security checklist has been brought in here, no longer in just the select button. And it's created that localized instance. We have our timestamp associated with this particular audit. And so that way we can, one, save time by not having to recreate checklists that are essentially being reused. And then we can also not be conflating the data between the different times that we've used the same checklist, physical security, for example. And then, of course, in addition to the audit file elements, we also have our audit findings. So whether it's whether an auditor is working within a work paper or a step within a checklist, a finding can always be documented at any point in the audit process. And so if desired to, as they document a finding, that finding could be classified as an issue that is used for the organization as a whole. So, for example, if we're performing our compliance audit against, let's say, the procurement team, and we uncover a critical finding during that audit, we can choose to publish that finding as an issue and then assign the issue to the head of procurement for review. So this is someone who is non-auditor, this is the head of procurement, but we can communicate with them that this finding, this issue has arisen for his department. And so really that kind of sums up the basics of audit scoping. I'm going to use that issue piece to transition into exactly that by logging into the system as a different user. I'm going to log out here. Log back in as our head of procurement. And as we jump in here, we can immediately tell that this user has a much simplified view, especially compared to the user I was just logged in as. And this is mostly because they only have access to the issue management portion of the system. And so this is really similar to if you're familiar with the issue track functionality that's in AutoAudit Desktop. And as this user logs in, the first page available to the head of procurement here is the My Issues dashboard tab. And so it's here that users can browse all of the issues that they have been involved with at some point in time in the process. So whether or not it's currently in the approval step of the workflow or it's been closed out, you'll be able to monitor all of the issues that have ever been assigned to you here. And so from here, we can start to monitor some things. We can determine if everything has been completed against these issues, whether or not they have an action plan for remediation. And we can also start to play with the data a bit. We can sort by the current step here to determine where these are within the workflow. It looks like they're all present in the issue resolution step. We can also provide a filter. So, for example, if I just received an email about a specific issue that needs acceleration, I can go ahead and go into here and filter by issue name, use the search functionality to search for the issue that I was notified about. And we can go in there and be able to update it from here. If I happen to not know the name of the specific issue that I'm being asked to accelerate, I can also categorize and search in a couple different ways. One way we can use the group by functionality. So if I grab our classification column here, and if I know that I'm looking for a issue that relates to compliance, after grouping, I can find the basket of compliance issues here. There we go. Those are the 3 compliance issues. So it's one of these that I must have been notified about based on our grouping here. But really just allowing users to be able to navigate through data sets a lot more cleanly. On the other dashboard tab that's available to the issues only users is a dashboard page where I can pick up on my current open issues and action plans. So this really acts as a to-do list for these users. In this case, we can go ahead and open up one of our issues that have been assigned to me. In this case, this is recording some non-compliant activities. We can see that it's already been documented out with an issue description and the recommendation. It's now up to me to be able to determine a proper action plan for this particular issue. And so, as we can see, we already have an action plan that's been developed. We're addressing these non-compliant activities, and it's currently in a status of open. So we are going to want to close that one out. So if I were to then exit out of my issue and go into my action plan section here, we can check up on that one remediation plan that's related. In this case here, we see the remediation plan listed out for our non-compliant finding. We have a full text editor here where we can go into full screen and essentially act like a Word type document. And here we're just documenting that remediation plan. We can see the issue it relates to, add any supporting evidence if needed. Then we can submit it on for its approval now that we have decided that this is a solid action plan. That's now just left my dashboard page and is now in its approval step of the workflow. So that nicely wraps up the issue management side of things. The next thing I'd like to do is come back into the system as my management level user to start to take a look at the latest reporting enhancements. These reporting enhancements are allowing our users to essentially have much greater flexibility when it comes to personalization, and also their data analysis capabilities have been greatly improved. So I'll use our navigation menu on the left-hand side to find our reporting section. And from here, we have our reporting dashboard, but I'd actually like to drill into one of our specific audit reports. Here we're in our plan versus actual. Oh, shoot. I gotta get in as the correct user. Back to our navigation menu, let's get into our plan versus actual audit report. And this is a report that depicts the company's overall audit program's progress. And so it's showing me whether or not the audits are being completed on time. Against the first couple columns are just the audit details themselves, but then we get into the workflow steps. These are the individual workflow steps and the dates that are associated with them. In the end, we're calculating a variance that's depicting how ahead of time or how far behind time, budget time we are. And so the first thing I'd like to show on this page is our latest report building enhancement. We can now change the composition of these reports. So whether it's the styling or the actual like column orderings or the column compositions, we can change all of these things now. So if I wanted to grab these columns and start to resize them, have them be a little more aesthetically pleasing, I can do that. We can also choose to disclude certain columns. So if I didn't really care about the current step column, I can get rid of that. If I don't care about the whole reporting phase, we can drop that one out of here too. And we can also bring additional columns in. So the audit manager, I'd like to actually surface. And now that's been replaced here. So as we're kind of going through and making some adjustments to this report, it's worth mentioning at this point too that the progress that we're making as we change the way this page is laid out is actually going to be saved automatically to our user's profile. And so if I were to leave this page and come back later, it would be organized just the way I had left it. And so another feature that we can use to start to gain a better understanding of these reports that allows a bit of personalization as well is the group by feature. So I'll take advantage of that again by having our audit type column be dragged up to the top here. And since I know I'm focused on compliance related audits, I can then expand out that particular section to view the regulation and compliance audits here. And so that's really just an introduction to our reporting and new report building functionality. From here, after making those changes, we can export the data and share it with our colleagues, and it'll be organized in the way that we've filtered and grouped it. But before getting into exports and all of that, I'd like to take us through another example of how reporting has been stepped up. So if we move on over to the next tab over, we have another pre-built report, which is depicting our budgeted versus actual hours usage. And so really, this is offering more of a live view into the remaining hours for each audit. This type of data is a pretty good report as it is, but it's a perfect example of a way of an opportunity for us to use the new charting functionality as well. So in order to do so, we have several columns that we can use as our data sets, but what we need to do is select the category field. So I'll select several of our audits here, just a handful of audits. And then I'll also select the data that I want to chart against. In this case, we'll use the budgeted hours remaining to build this graph. If we simply right-click the selection, we can then be taken to our charting options. Here's the list of possible charts we can select from. And in this case, I'm going to go with a bar chart. And apologies, I must have set it up wrong. Instead of choosing the audit ID, I should have picked audit name, I believe. Let me grab the thing here. It's a bar chart. And yeah, so after selecting the data properly, we're then able to build this quick chart that's depicting the amount of hours remaining. We see there's one particular audit that has gone over budget, while the rest have, it looks like a good chunk. We have a couple that are coming close to their remaining budget, but this really helps highlight just that singular outlier here, especially. And so it's from here that we can customize this chart's formatting. We can change the data type to be any sort of other representation of the chart. Also change the data that's been used or the themes and stuff. We have full flexibility when it comes to like adding padding and changing the way that the chart is formatted. And then from here, once we're happy with the way the chart looks, we can always be able to download this chart to our local drive so that we can use it for sharing purposes. Here's a PNG image that was just exported. And so with that, we've just taken a look at the latest with AutoAudit Cloud. That included its new interface, some of the latest workflow and page enhancements, as well as the issue management and reporting enhancements. So I really appreciate everyone for sticking around, and I'd like to reintroduce Ola for everyone to hear about our future plans and more resources for you all.
Thanks, Ben. That was great. Yeah, so what's to come? We're working on loads of enhancements on the product side. So this is a very, very small snippet of actually what's to come. I try to pick the main items that are relevant to the audit template. We're doing some security model extensions. We have a very flexible security model, and we're trying to improve that even further and extend it to allow even more flexibility around security. Quick view details, right-hand menu. So as you saw in Ben's presentation, we've got the new, more modern React menu. At the moment, if you want to view an item or drill into an item in more detail, you kind of have to go to an overview page. So what we're working on is for that to kind of just pop up on the right-hand side without having to exit from the main summary report. So the user doesn't have to click in and then go back, kind of just pops in on the right, and then you can close that. So again, just makes it a lot more user-friendly. And reporting enhancements. So loads of reporting enhancements coming in. Improve that side of the product. We have very great import-export functionality to Excel, but we're working on improving that even more. And you saw some of the reporting functionality that Ben demonstrated today. We're looking into, in the Q3, we're looking into implementing some new reporting technology. So we've got a few that we'll be testing out, and then by Q4, we would have made our decision on what the new technology will be, and we'll start to implement it. So that will be by the end of this year. That should be a huge change into our product that I am really looking forward to, because that's one thing that we've been waiting for a long time. But yeah, thank you everyone for your interest in AutoAudit Cloud. You can see an interactive demo if you're interested. The details are on the screen right now. And if you do have any questions or any feedback, or if you would like to get in touch with us, please contact Jamie. His details are also on the screen right now.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.